Well, this is such a moving film. I have to ask about The Long Walk. What inspired you to write this movie and go on this incredible journey?
So, I the movie was something that kind of happened by chance, um, and because I had had a film crew 6 months prior that was doing a film about my project, and then they heard about this walk that Tamasha and I were about to embark upon. So they were like, "Oh, someone has to film it." So I had never planned for it to become a film, actually.
Oh.
Um, but how it happened was basically I mean, always a lot of reasons when you embark on such a long walk. You have to have a lot of reasons to be able to actually complete it, because every day you feel like you're walking on a green screen, especially in Namibia where it's super flat and just one straight road. Um, but so a year before the walk, I had almost died from septicemia, and I had been running my organization with the Gcaq'o since I was 20 years old, and as most ambitious, fighting for rights of everything, I was doing too much, and eventually, you get sick and you almost die. And it shifts something in you when you have these kind of incidents of almost dying at such a young age. And all I woke up with was, I want to create what should exist, but I had no idea where to begin. So I was sitting around the fire with Tui and Tamashe one night, and Tui, the oldest one, looks at me and he says, "There's nothing in your eyes anymore. What has happened?"
Oh.
And I said, "Well, I don't know. I feel like I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life." And he, being a hunter, immediately said, "Yeah, it's like sometimes I feel like you can lose track of things." And and it resonated with him, that feeling, because as someone who's from a nomadic people, but they're not allowed to be nomadic anymore, he started having a sense of running out of stories. Because when you're not a nomad and you're just always living in the same place, you run out of stories. There's no adventure. There's no stories to bring back to your people around the fire. And then Tamashe also jumped in and he's like, "I have zero purpose in my life. I feel so lost. Everyone, tells me I should have done this and I should have done that, but I feel so connected to people like you three, but at the same time I do so much nonsense," because he always gets into trouble. And then there was something Three said, because I said, "But this is impossible. How do you ever find out, what you're supposed to do?" And he said, "Well, everything is within walking distance." And that was the seed that kind of he planted within me. And then a week later, I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, "We are going to do this." And this is also a great way to create awareness about the importance of Indigenous people in not just the sun, but around the world. 5% of the world population protects 80% of our last wilderness areas, and they are the invisible heroes, and they've been tucked away and geographically isolated and not recognized for anything that they've ever done. But they have been the only ones who have actually been protecting our earth and our home, just by being themselves and with all their knowledge and wisdom. And so this was a great way to show Namibia, who has forgotten about the first people of the land, um, that they're here and why they're so important, and put them back on the map, because they used to be hunted like animals, and you could buy a hunting permit to hunt a Jungpa. So it was important, because I've had a lot of resistance from the government in protecting them. Also to, just put it out there and make it really positive. And we got to explore how we could find back to what they call the two hungers, the small one and the big one. And the small one is the one of the belly, and the big one is the one of the spirit, and how you find purpose. And so we embarked on a journey to see if purpose and belonging is within walking distance. And I guess we found out that it's even more than that. It's you don't
Yeah,
yeah.
I have to ask how you were able to convince Pierre Stein to direct this documentary, or
Yeah.
was he on board the minute you you said we're going across the Namibian desert? Would you like to film?
Well, I didn't even ask him. So I just because he was there in Namibia filming another documentary for Canal Plus Planet and with me, and because I was running a tracking school at the time. And so he heard about this plan and he was like, "Oh my God, is someone filming this?" And I said, "No, I'm just planning to like bring a solar panel and a GoPro." And he's like, "Are you crazy? You have to document this journey." And I said, "Well, our date is set. So I'm not gonna like I know how the movie business works and it's gonna take forever and I'm not gonna do this because this is important. We need to find purpose in our lives right now." Um, and so I said, a year from now in April after rainy season, I'm gonna walk and you're either in or you're out. And so like about a month before he really confirmed it, but he said we have no one on board. Um, because everyone, nobody believes that you're actually going to be able to complete this mission. Um, and I was like, gee, thanks. But I
More
guess
motivation, but
that,
there,
yeah,
that's all
yeah.
nice.
No, and then so then he organized a small crew and we set the rules because I was like, this was a very important journey for the three of us, and I didn't want it to suddenly become a film production. So we had very clear rules about them not helping us, staying away, giving us the space to. So they filmed us. I mean, there's so much that has happened on that journey, but you see the light is very beautiful in the film. So most of the film was filmed in the nice light hours, like yeah, not midday heat when it was the most traumatizing time to walk.
I was going to say, you guys carry very little supplies with you.
Yeah.
Was that a decision you needed to make because of what you're going to be walking so far? You didn't want to have such a weight on your body, or is it because you wanted to keep things so natural to go along with these tribesmen and how they really do live their lives?
Yeah, I mean, you don't if you're walking in your home, you don't need a lot of things. And so if nature is your home, you don't need a lot of things. So we had basics, like I had flashlights and a little blanket and you know, it's not weather is not a big problem in Namibia. It's pretty dry and pretty hot all the time. Um, and the scarf became a skirt, and I just ended up with less and less things. And that was the thing that when I actually the arrived the ocean, I had hardly anything left. I'd given away everything because I didn't need it. So it was a conscious choice to be light, and also because we're walking in a dangerous wildlife
Yes.
area, and it's good to be able to hide and move. Yeah.
The journey is so incredible. Was there anything these two tribesmen were surprised when you started this? Were they surprised about anything? Were they fascinated with anything in particular when it came to
Oh my
you wanting
God.
to
Yeah.
do this, and maybe even the equipment you had with you?
Yeah. I mean, they were laughing a lot about like things that I was carrying in even though I had hardly anything with me, they were like, "This is ridiculous. The things you carry with you." I was like, "It's really not, it's a necessity." Um, and but it wasn't anything in particular. They were a bit worried about my shoe choice, because they've never seen like these kind of ankle moccasins that I started off with. And they were like, you should just wear the same sandals that we wear, which is what I ended up with at the end of the film, or end of the walk. But what they were, I mean, they're kind of used to me because we've, been a family for
For
a
so
while.
long,
So they
yes.
were more surprised by other things, like for instance, the fact that people do fence their properties or they fence nature, or it was the first time for them to meet Gcaq'o and Yaqui. two men sharing a life together. That was a first for them.
Wow.
Um, because for hunters and gatherers, it's just a practical solution. You know, women gather the food, men gather, men hunt the meat. So that was a big surprise for them. Pavement or tarmac was huge surprise. And I thought I was going to be the person that was going to be sick a lot on this trip. But the one who was the most sick was Tomasz, because he's never eaten our food before, our kind
Oh,
of food.
I figured you
And he
just
said he was
ate
like
whatever
the
you
whole
found.
ecosystem. Yeah, and he would look at sometimes when we were invited to stay at a farm or something, he would look at the plates. He's like, "Yo, it's the whole ecosystem." Yeah,
I I'm
so
surprised that I figured that you all ate what you found along the way.
yeah, no, that's what we did. But there was the middle part of Namibia where it was a lot of farmland. And
Uh,
there we were not allowed to pick up anything because it's people's property. So then there was like, I mean, it was like basically 3 nights where there was different farmers that invited us
mhm.
to eat with them. And so Amashe has never had like sauce and things like that in his life, so it was
Too
just a bit
rich for
much.
his stomach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
film is beautiful through and through. There's so many poignant moments as well. Is there one that really stands out as a personal favorite for you? Whether you experienced it or
Um,
watching back, looking at it and you caught something you didn't recognize, and suddenly you're like, my goodness, this is so significant.
I mean, I loved there's so many incredible moments. I loved watching uh Kamashe grow, like from being so ashamed of himself and his tribe to becoming such a like comfort cat and like his interactions with the Himba tribes, I mean, Kui and I, we laughed so much when he was trying to pick up these girls and the friendship is probably the biggest experience, how that evolved. But also the most memorable is when we had almost reached the ocean, all three of us at the same time. We have always had like pretty fast pace during the entire walk, but then all of a sudden we just slowed down so much that it was like we were walking backwards
Oh my
because we
goodness.
knew that it was coming to an end.
Oh.
And none of us, and we sat down and we had so many breaks, and nobody really wanted to arrive at the
Mhm.
ocean. Um, and yeah, that was really, really special, but also just to see how beautiful our world is and how beautiful people are if you allow them to be. Um, you know, surviving and living off the land, walking without money, and having to rely on the humanity of people. It was the thing I was the most scared of when I embarked on the walk. Not
Really?
all the animals and stuff, but yeah, because how many times do we walk past people who are in trouble and we don't help them?
True.
And a lot of tourists, when we were running out of water, a few times we tried to stop tourists to ask if they could fill up our water bottles. Nobody helped us. So tourists were not really helpful, but all the people of Namibia were extremely helpful.
Okay.
That was beautiful to see, you know. I feel like we live in a world where we think every man is for himself and that we are not in this network together. But on this walk, I really realized that we're walking this life together.
I was going to ask if there's a message that you truly hope lingers with people that watch the long walk. Is it that humanity still exists? Is it that we need to be kinder to our fellow man?
I think that for me, it's important for people to realize that um, it's important. Like the only thing people should really look for in their life is a little bit of belonging or purpose. And if you find one of them, you will have hope. And so this film is about hope and finding belonging and purpose because if you belong, then you don't need anything else. It doesn't matter whether you're happy or unhappy, you belong. And we find no belonging in this fake belonging of social media and everything. And you need to find that one thing that you will not, you have to hold on for it hold on to it for dear life, whether it's purpose or something you love or someone you love. Um, and in that way you will find belonging. And then I think when people feel better, nature heals better.
That's a wonderful sentiment and very well said. I feel like that's a great way to really sum up how this movie touches you.
Yeah,
It's just
and
exceptional.
thank you. And the last thing is that I feel like humans today, we have lost connection to ourselves, each other, and nature. And so with this film, we wanted to do exactly that, reconnect people to all of those three things, to yourself, to the other, and to nature. Um, and yeah, that's that's what it became for us, and that's I really wanted to be like a bonfire that you can find refuge around and share with your friends. Um, yeah.
You started the organization Nanofasa in Namibia. How can people get involved, and in what ways would you like them to get involved?
So well, we have our website, nanofasa.com. Um, on that website, it's possible to donate. Big and small amounts are very much appreciated because the way I work is that I create Indigenous innovation businesses for the sake of our planet, where Indigenous people stand on the forefront uh, and have a job being, whether it's a bee guardian or an elephant shepherd or a tree shepherd, and their job is to protect nature, and they make money off it because we basically boost startup that helps them. For instance, the bee guardians, who are 200 women that are protecting wild bee populations, they are making money from selling honey and and bee wax candles. So in this way, it becomes sustainable long term. So if people want to donate or sponsor small or big amounts, then smaller amounts goes to planting a tree or buying um, buying bee equipment, um, and or GPS collars and things like that. And bigger amounts goes to wells and actually protecting large parts of nature. And so those are ways people can support. They can also support by sharing our mission, writing about it, sharing it on social media, or you can also come and volunteer.